All right, guys. We're gonna do a little test today on the what I would call the range sork. Before I really get too much into what I'm doing specific with the sork, I want to go over what I would call the just the bare minimum details, and that is what I'm going to do on most tests. Okay. So for this patch, all my testing is going to be done. If it's going to be range, I'm going to go with what I call just a very simple setup, and that's going to be bow front bar and then staff back bar. That's going to be the simplest setup we can find to get the most damage. Okay. And let's go over why I choose those two first, and then we'll get into other parts of the set. So why bow front bar? Bow front bar provides us with a couple of really good passives. One, if you're using a bow ability, you get 12% to all ranged abilities, or something like that, which I think includes our pets and stuff. This is the main one why I choose it right here. Same thing if you put a dagger in your front hand, same thing here, right? You're getting an extra free 1300 critical chance. Okay, now right now I have a precise bow on the front bar, but I mean, if my crit rating is high enough, I could even switch that out to something else and go with, charged instead to get a better uptime on my glyph proc. Next, not a big deal, but we will be using a bow ability, so it can help. This one here, dealing damage with a light attack. This is just with a bow equipped. The damage of your bow abilities will be increased by 5% for 5 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. That's 25% increase to all bow damage. And our spammable will be, as you guessed, Snipe, one of the most powerful abilities in the game. Okay, sorry about that. Next, why staff? Staff allows us to have this ability here, unstable wall, which is when we're looking at ranged back bar, one piece ability altering weapons. The Maelstrom unstable wall, the Maelstrom Destro staff is the best in slot damage for single target assistance. So if you get the Maelstrom staff, preferably the flame staff. Everybody's like, well, why do I want the flame staff? I want a lightning staff. I want this staff. I want that staff. And that's fine. If you want to use those staffs, be my guest. That's not what I'm trying to show you here. I'm trying to show you why I would choose for these few particular steps that I'm going to go through, because I'm going to do a series of these. This is just going to be the first one. The reason why I would choose the flame staff is because it allows you to get a little bit of extra damage. Unstable wall of fire deals additional damage to burning enemies, and if we equipped a front bar flame glyph, we'll have a chance to have a better uptime proc for burning. Now, why would I go flame glyph on the front bar instead of double dot poisons? Well, because I'm already going to get free poison status effect here, according to what it says on lethal arrow. So plant a masterfully aimed arrow in an enemy's vital spot, wherever that is, dealing zibla blah blah poison damage and applying the poison status effect. Okay, so we're gonna have that effect already, so I'm gonna go flame glyph on the bow on the front bar. So why bow, just went over that. Why staff, went over that. Everything else about the staff, I mean, it's okay. It's I don't really, all this stuff is just minimally okay. It's not, especially if we're going Inferno staff, it's not really gonna like make me feel like I have to have a front bar Inferno staff. Inferno staff passives are okay. Next, let's go over the sets that are going to probably be on every single one of these builds. All right, just for testing purposes, so you can see where each setup ends up landing, and you can assess for your own intents and purposes whether you want to run those sets or not. Okay, this is just a common look, a simple look at how to get your own setup for some single target stuff. Like, I'm not the guru at this stuff. It's just I'm giving you what I've learned. Okay, Kinroz. It's going to buff our second set. That's really the main purpose here. And what is the second set? The second set is, well, probably, and even still now for a lot of people, the best single target DPS in the game. Okay, you pair Reliquants with Kinroz. Kinroz buffs the Reliquants. It's the only set in the game that will really give Reliquants just a flat 10% added damage bonus. Because if you go to high crit set to pair with Reliquants, these little winds that I talked about here, where it says your light and heavy attack stack these harmful winds that deal blah 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 physical damage. Well, those winds, their damage will not increase whether you have crit or no crit, because they never crit. So building a high crit chance build when you're having Reliquins on is fine if you have really powerful skills. But if you really want to buff, which is going to be one of your best damage abilities or your best damage outputs for your character, then I would suggest Kinross, because it's going to buff the winds. Okay? So very simple, Kinross, Reliquins. That's 5 pieces. I mean, that's 10 pieces. Now I have 2 pieces open. Okay? 1 piece, Harpooners. As usual, it's just what they're doing nowadays if you're trying to test. Okay? 1 piece Harpooners. Gives you added crit value and added crit damage. The other one, because we're on a Sorc and we don't have, with this setup, we won't have any added extra penetration, we're going to use Valkynscoria Light. That's going to put us around 3.1 penetration, which is perfect. 3, anything above 3. Actually, I aim for about 2.5 and go everything else if I can into critical, but I'm fine with 3.1. Okay, now our weapon critical is at 44.6. When we pop a potion, it's going to go up to 56.5. Now we're running precise on the front bar. Now we're missing a couple of bonuses here that are not up there yet. Number 1, we're going to get about another 5 or 6% out of wearing the kilt, which will push us into like 62 range, and then we're going to get a passive bonus for the minor savagery, which is the Nightblade passive, which applies whenever you hit the dummy for the first time, which is another, I think, 6%. So at max, we'll probably be around 66. If we're at 66 with those bonuses, now in your own content, you might not keep that as an idea. But if you're looking for the best test possible, which is what we're doing here, we're going to test both. I'm going to test one setup with having the charged front bar bow, and we'll do one setup with a precise. I'm going to do precise first, okay? And we'll see where we land on those. Now we'll go through the skills in this setup and see how things go from there. Next. First thing, we're on a Sorc. And it's going to be a stamina Sorc. There's going to be a problem. We're going to count our abilities. We have 10 abilities. Of our 10 abilities that we have, front bar, which is right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then back bar, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Of our 10 abilities, 1, which is the same thing on front and back bar, so 1, 2, 3. Only 3 are stamina abilities. And throughout most of the parse, we're only going to be using 2. 1, 2. That means, let's compare that. We have 2 active stamina abilities versus 1, 2, 3 active magical abilities. And we're in medium armor, and we're using a max stat stamina food. So, what does that mean? That means I'm going to be casting a lot. I'm going to be casting quite a few magic abilities. And in order for me to keep up with how much magic I'm using, I'm going to have to use a food that's going to be able to allow me to sustain that. And I'm going to still want to have enough stamina to cast as much as I need to and have as much maximum stamina to take advantage of one of our skills that we have slotted. We'll go into that in just a minute. So the idea here is you want to have lots of max stamina, but still have a good bit of magical recovery, which we have. If you look at our mag recovery, 1212, stamina 32,000. Okay, how do we do that? We're using Candied Jester's coins. All right. Next, champion points on most of the steps will be the same too. We might have to change it a little bit on some of the builds that have added crit damage value, like Nightblades and Templars. Other than that, the champions should be fairly similar, especially with a bow ranged build. Wrathful Strikes, Backstabber for flat 10%, Deadly Aim, Master at Arms. And then just stack your passives as usual and everything else. The red tree, really the only that matters for testing is going to be the one that gives you a little bit of regen. Okay. Now, just to go over it real quick so we understand where we're standing on everything. All stamina glyphs, all weapon damage, bloodthirsty, weapon damage enchant on the back bar, infused for better uptime, and then precise on the front bar for first test with a flame damage glyph. Okay, and we're going to change that. We'll do 2 tests here. All right. Next, skills. We're going to go through these rather quickly. We'll do back bar first. Bound armaments on both bars. This is why we want max stat stamina on everything. 64 stamina, all stamina glyphs, stamina max food, a stamina based character like an orc. Why? The very bottom, last paragraph. While slotted, your max stamina is increased by 8% and your light attacks deal an extra 10% more damage. That's another reason why we want to run the Inferno Staff from Maelstrom. Those additives are going to stack. And we'll go back into why Maelstrom Inferno Staff is important, okay? Because I'll look at the set piece to give you an idea of why. Next, Volatile Familiar. We're going to be using that one as much as possible. Whenever it's down, we're putting it back up, okay? It's going to be the same static rotation throughout. At very end, probably around 20%, I'm going to start adding in Poison Inject. And I'm just going to apply it however I see fit. I am not trying to kill myself. It is not a perfect rotation on this. I'm talking about when I see this little timer is down, I'm putting the son of a gun back up. That's simple. Next. And the Matriarch, we're going to use it one time to start the parse. That's it. After that, we're not going to use it again. Front bar again, bound armaments, because I'm getting the damage bonus from having it slotted twice on both the back and the front bar. The damage bonus, which is the max stamina bonus, and the light attack damage bonus also. Well, biscuits. We're missing something here, ladies and gentlemen. We're missing the 10% added damage bonus for using... Gosh, dog it. Maybe we shouldn't be using Kinra's. Maybe it should be Zoglin's. Yeah, I might have to... honestly, they'll probably test almost exactly the same when it comes to damage. Oh well. Let's stick with it for now. Volatile Familiar. As you can see, this is me just thinking this stuff out with you guys. The problem was I used a similar build like this on a Nightblade. The Nightblade gets a lot of extra added crit value, and when I tested it with Kinross and Reliquins, it tested very similar to Kinross. I'm sorry, with Reliquins and Zogben, so that there wasn't much of a difference there. Lethal arrows are spammable. The reason why we need such a high stamina pool. It's also the reason why we were using stamina Battle Alliance potions. Daedric Prey, we're going to use that as much as possible. Whenever it goes down, we're putting it back up. This one is a proc. Bound Armaments. How's the proc work? I click it. Every time I light attack, I get a dagger that comes up on around my character. When I see 4 daggers, I'm going to throw. Sometimes I throw a little early because I can anticipate when my 4th dagger is coming. You don't have to do that. That's just how I'm able to play, okay? I've been playing it for a while now. It is kind of a complicated... I know when I first started doing it, pain in the derriere, okay? That's why I started off with a different setup on Sorc when I first started playing. Okay, here we go. This is what the precise. I'm going to pre-buff that, and throw that down. Here we go. My little pet is down, trap is down, all down. I'm not going to put back up the Matriarch. Light side attacks are missing, so I'm just gonna wave his hands there. I'm gonna guess that we're gonna finish up around lower 90s. The reason why we're a little bit behind on DPS this patch is because the CPs recently got nerfed, so that's not a big deal. Heck, if you're hitting 90s, you should be having a good time regardless, right? It's not about always doing better every patch, it's just about having a good time in content. And does your build do competent damage when compared to other builds? Can you keep up? That's all it is. And if the truth is, yeah, you can keep up, then you'll be fine. People will have you in you. They'll ask you to run content with them. Our weakest skill really is the back bar wall, but you do want to keep it up as much as you can. So if you need to, bar shop to get it on there, go ahead. But you don't have to be on point with having to kick that up as much as possible. You can. That's the one skill you can kind of relax about. Okay, I think I'm gonna add a little bit. Oh, it's not slow. Oh, I don't have. Look at me. Slide of poison injection. You know what? I can't even use poison injection. I would have replaced that with a lightning splash, but man, when I was testing earlier, the lightning splash, it was pain. I couldn't keep my magic up. Which might be my fault. I'm gonna use your arrow. Pretty able to be aired. And what I can do next time is I can put, let's say, curse on the back bar. Poison injection up on the bar. I'm not going to go back to the back bar anymore. I'm just going to just shoot it all the way down. And let me set up my CMX because I didn't do that already. And we'll have a gander what we got there. Well, let's take a look. 94, there you go. See, I mean, that was pretty easy, right, guys? So if you're not looking to push any more damage than that, you can keep it just the way it is. If you're looking to push out a little bit more, I think changing the front bar to from precise. See, let's look at our overall crit value to start off with. Like throughout the whole part, we're hitting 66 to 67 weapon critical. Okay, that's huge critical damage as far as like how high we're hitting. So if we were to take precise off and bring it down. See, I'd feel less comfortable bringing our crit value down. Yeah. Another thing we're missing here is we're missing this right here, this little critical thing, which means if one of our buddies happens to be a warden running double ice staffs, look, in content, we're going to be having a blast because they're going to pick our crit value up close to max, right? Because they're going to keep minor maim up as much as possible. You're going to get an extra 10% added damage to everything you're doing. So, you know, you're hitting like 1 million extra damage. It's going to be crazy. So, here... if the weapon critical is a little bit higher, I'd recommend going with the... Man, I don't even know. See, if I go Zoglin's, you could test it out for yourself. And this is the recommendation. Everything else is going to be playing the same way it plays already. Okay, you're going to be doing fine just with those 4 skills. By the way, let's go over it real quick to see what we did. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 skills. That was super simple. Lethal Inject, Bound Armaments, Daedric Prey, Volatile Familiar, and Unstable. That's all we used. We got 94. Okay? So, if you want to try it differently, this is what I would recommend. If you want to get that extra 10% out of crit damage and have great crit value, go get Zogvins. If you run Zogvins, your 1 extra piece, so now you'd have, 5 Reliquins, Zogvins. Your extra piece is going to be Slime Crawl because you're going to get the extra penetration from 1 piece Light Slime Crawl because you're going to get extra penetration from Zogvins. You'll have so much extra crit value, and you'll be carrying the extra 10% free critical damage because Zogvin gives you 10% free critical damage, right? Then you could most definitely change your front bar to charged and slot that flame glyph on there, and you'll be having an extra dot running most of the time. This unstable wall will be doing a lot of extra damage almost, the entire parse. I'm kidding. I have no idea. But it'll help a lot. It will help a lot. And that damage will pick up. You have burning access a lot more. You'll have a higher crit value because you have Slime Crawl on. It's just a different setup. So try it either way. I liked it like this because it buffs out Reliquins. And let's just look how high Reliquins is up on the board for us. Okay, and that's because I'm combining Reliquins and Kinross together. Alright, guys? So, have fun. Try it out. I'll try one more thing before we go, which I think one of my buddies want me to check for us. Which will change up the build a little bit. We'll end up going with 1 light Slime Crawl. Give me 1 second. Let me go grab that. Monster sets, Monster Slime Crawl, Light, Slime Crawl Shoulder, Divines. Here we go. Our pin's down, but we're going to use a different skill. And it's going to be the same concept, guys, just a different skill. We're going to take and slot. We didn't purchase it. Crystal Weapon. Now, what's so cool about Crystal Weapon is, now you could use either an Infernal Staff front bar or a bow front bar. Again, here, even though I'm not going to be using quite a bit of the passives, I still like the bow simply because of the crit value increase, right? Where's the crit value increase of the bow? When bow is equipped, you have the crit chance ability, okay? Now, we could pull the bow off and go with just a precise front bar, Inferno Staff. But we're going to leave it like this just for now. Alright? One last test. That was a simple test, man. Simple. One other thing that's going to help with our damage increase is going to be by not slotting Poison Inject on the back bar. We want to slot an extra Swark ability, even if we never use it. It could be like Hurricane, something defensive. It could be, what's that critical healing one? Power Surge, what it's called. Missing some light attacks there, maybe a little bit of lag spike. one of the other benefits of running this is you're going to get a free heal out of it in Daedric Magic. So it can help your survivability if you do want to use this as one of your options. I think having both options is a good idea. Like I said, on the sword, Zog runs one slime crawl, light, also a good option. Okay? Yeah, don't feel like you have to use my options on it. Like I said, please slot a Sorc ability instead of my poison inject, which is absolutely useless. It does feel like the damage is a little bit lower. Maybe I'm just freaking, you know, missing this in there, but oh, lost our pot. And again, if you want to test front bar, you know, staff instead to see how that works for you, you can. It's an easy build. It should be pretty easy to flip into a bow, staff to replace this. You know, just make sure you're doing the skills the same. Okay, guys, we're getting close to that just spam sub part. That I'm just gonna spam all the way out. When you get close to execute, you don't want to spend a whole lot of time on the back bar. There we go. Let's see what we got on this one. 94. Well, wow. Wow. And we got a little bit more damage out of it, actually. Holy cowabunga. And we had better weapon crit. What the French? Oh, because we had slime crawl on you, idiot. So at that point, if you're using this setup, you could turn slime crawl, you could turn that precise bow into a charged bow and probably get a little bit more, like I said, burn and then extra damage from the unstable wall out of it if you'd like to try it out. Well, you know what? Let's try that. Let's give that an old shot. We're going to transmute our bow to charged. Alright, let's give it an old. That one, I hate when my little bow is right in the way. Sorry, guys. funny story. Like, had every opportunity to switch that skill in the back bar like 10 years ago. Still haven't done it. Yeah, I missed my attack on that one. Missed it on that one too. Where is the shards, bro? Throw the shards. Oh my goodness. Yeah, well, it looks like this is a little bit more expensive than running just the bow one. Okay, here we go. We're about to get to the point. We're going to just spam out right here. Come on. Alright. Here we go. There it is. That actually felt pretty quick, even though we got a little lag spike at the bottom. Whoa, yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, it's not much difference, but I mean, if you're looking for it, there you go. So what did we do differently? We changed. Now, if you're better at it than I am, you're going to get better scores. So good luck to you. I'm not saying I'm the best. What we did was we lowered our crit chance value by going with a charged front bar, which is if you're using a front bar or dual wield, not dual wield, two-hander, you're going to have a 480% increase to charged potential, okay? Which is almost 1,000,000. And when it does, it brought up our burning damage. As you can see, burning is now on the table right here, which I don't think was visible before. Yeah, it's not even in our top abilities here at all, but here it's in those abilities. There we go. And it also, let's see if it brings up our unstable wall damage. So our average DPS is 4,300. And on this one is 41. So yeah, it did. And then it bring up, one is the exploding, one is the tick. I think this is the tick, and then this is the explosion. So the explosion was an average of 2,100. And explosion on this one, ooh, a little bit lower. So the main increase in damage is 3,200 from burning. And on this one, burning was, yeah, wow, that's an extra 2,000 damage on that part. And then unstable here versus on this one was so just what, an extra 100. Yeah, 4,100 to 4,300. Yeah, I mean, extra 200, not much. But the bigger difference is there. The actual burning itself made much more of a difference. Wow. And you can see it here. I mean, we really only did an extra 2k damage, and that came from the glyph itself. I mean, from the burning proc, not the glyph, but the burning proc. That's crazy. Alright, ladies and gents, if you're looking for a ranged Sorc this patch, and you're looking for something that's going to get you into a trial, if you're looking for something that's going to have to hit over a certain number because people are saying this is the number you have to hit, well then, real simple, this is the build. And I'll be coming out with something for the Necro shortly. The Necro is going to be, look, we'll get into that later. We'll come out with the Necro shortly. Okay, guys.